Nadia. This has been an amazing experience working with you so far in a very short period of time. We really appreciate you collaborating with us and being able to bring this to life to your classroom. So a little bit about myself. I'm a student here. I'm a senior here at the Honors College. I'm studying political science with a focus on international affairs and a minor in marketing. This is something that I'm really passionate about, and I was like, how can we bring this to life? And so a few months ago, Nicole and I started the UAZ Podcast, and we have been able to interview over 50 plus guests. Some of them are student leaders. We have people from the community, CEOs from different organizations, and executives in most of the Tucson nonprofit organizations and companies here in Tucson. And we have been able to learn so much from these incredible leaders in our community. And I was like, how can we bring this knowledge to more students? Because we usually have this podcast at least 1 hour every week, 3 times in a week. And I was like, this is really incredible knowledge that we can be able to share with other students. And that's why we're able to bring this. This is our second panel. Last semester we had one, and we had over 150 plus students. And it was really also a great experience for us to share that with other students. Some of the panelists today are people whom we've interviewed so far, like Mr. Majchrzak is one of the CEOs in Tucson, and he has incredible life experience that he'll be able to share with you today. Then we have Mr. Scott here. He's part of the Honors College, and he has been doing so many things for this small community, which is also a bigger community. And he does a lot with leadership, business mentoring, and so I'm glad that he's here today. He will share with you his experiences, his life skills as well, and you guys can also be able to connect after we complete this panel. And also we have Yvonne with us here today too. Yvonne is one of the storytellers, and he won the Regent Cup competition for last year. So she's also overcome so many challenges in life, and she'll be able also to share most of those experiences with us today. I'm not going to share more about them, but I'll give them a chance to share about themselves later. But before that, I would love to introduce to you my co-host for today.
Hi everyone, my name is Nicole Camacho. I'm a current junior at the U of A. I'm dual majoring in law and journalism. I am the co-founder of UAZ Podcast. I'm also a reporter for UATV3 and also a reporter for Tucson Agenda. So nice to meet you guys, and I'm so excited to share the insights that these individuals have for all of you.
Hi, my name is Celia Tejolavi. I am a graduate student at the School of Government and Public Policy here at the University of Arizona. I started my program last year, so this is my second semester as a graduate student. I'm so excited to be here in the midst of dedicated students, and I'm so excited that we'll be learning so much from our panelists today. Thank you.
So our theme for today is On Your Future, Position Yourself for Leadership. We chose this specifically because of your class. Your class is about leadership and advocacy in the community. And we're like, well, you guys want to become leaders someday in life. And so we have a core of this message, which is power comes from knowing your options. Leadership begins when you intentionally position yourself for opportunities. No matter how much you're so passionate about supporting people or impacting your community, if you don't know what your options are or where to go, sometimes it's really hard to bring those things to life. And I hope that our guests will be able to help in some of those directions. So I'm going to give it to the panelists. Mr. Scott, will you introduce yourself before we begin?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Scott Hessel, and as Rebecca said, I work in the Honors College. You probably have maybe heard or seen some emails about the Venture Studio, which is a entrepreneurship focused kind of activity within the Honors College. We just started this academic year. So I've been running that, and Rebecca has been an active participant in that too. And before that, I retired officially a couple years ago and then came back. But before that, I taught on campus for 2 decades. I've started 3 startup companies. I was a chief operating officer, a medical device manufacturer, consulted from mom and pop companies all the way to IBM and Xerox. So I have a very chaotic life path that hopefully there's some things in there that I can share today too.
Thank you. One thing about Scott is like he really has great insights. I've had a chance to talk to him one-on-one, and he's here on campus. So you guys, if you have a chance, you wanna start a business, you wanna work in some industries, and you need advice, he's a great person to go
Talk to all of you.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. So then we're gonna give it to Yvonne.
Absolutely. I mean, I may be talking to Scott later, right?
100%. Let's
Start
do it.
my business. Absolutely. My name is Yvonne Davis. As you know, I was born and raised in West Palm Beach, Florida, but I recently graduated from the University of Arizona just in this past December with a communications degree. Some of my professional experience that I've worked for the state of Florida. I've worked in government with the Pima County Sheriff's Department. I've also recently just worked with Citibank as assistant vice president. So I've overcome a lot of trials and tribulations throughout life, never letting it hold me back, and still succeeding, becoming a leader in corporate America, becoming a leader in the Sheriff's Department. And then while I was a student here, I think I started back in 2023. Before I graduated in 2025, I just won, as Rebecca said, the Arizona Regents Cup. That is a storytelling competition and an Oxford debate competition that happens between the University of Arizona, Arizona State University, and Northern Arizona University. How many people, show of hands, have ever heard of that competition?
Just now.
Right, yeah. Just now, right? Nobody's heard of it. So because I'm a communications major, and I'm just a natural public speaker. I love to public speak and give influence that way. One of my professors came to me and said, "Hey, there's a competition. I think you should join." And I was like, once I found out, third place won 10 grand, second place won 12 grand, and first place won 15 grand. I was like, sign me up. Sign me up now, I'm going to work. It is a competition that happens over one day. We just had it here, and the U of A hosted it in the Eller Business College. And Rebecca here won third place for this year. I won first place last year. So just coming with that experience and just sharing a little bit about what we can do and work together and collaborate.
Yeah, thank you, Yvonne. I hope you guys can connect later on. She has also so much experience that she can share with you. Let's give it to Mr. Majchrzak.
Hi everybody, my name's Eric Majchrzak. Originally from Buffalo, New York, where I spent most of my life and career. I was just in Buffalo this past weekend. It snowed, so it was snowing there in mid-April. So it does live up to the hype of a lot of inclement weather. Kind of like Scott, my background's a little chaotic. Where I am now is in the accounting profession, and I am a CEO of Beach Fleischman, which is Arizona's largest public accounting and consulting firm. But my path was not a straight line. I didn't know what I wanted to do out of college. Accounting is actually my fourth career. In fact, I'm not even an accountant. I just happen to run a firm. My background is in marketing. So I went to school for marketing at Buffalo State College and didn't know what I wanted to do when I graduated. I graduated in 1991, which gives you an idea of my age, and started driving a beer truck in Buffalo, delivering beer and keg beer to restaurants and bars across Western New York. That's how I started. That was a sales job. Then I got into broadcast radio, where I sold advertising and media campaigns, advertising campaigns to businesses. And I did that for about 9 years. Then from there I got into banking. I was a marketer for a large regional bank in the Northeast. I happened to just fall into accounting by accident. I worked my way up in an accounting firm in Buffalo. Every level of marketing you can do, marketing assistant, marketing manager, senior marketing manager, then eventually a chief marketing officer. I had no particular love for accounting. As a matter of fact, I failed accounting in college and had to take it over again. And I did, and I passed. But I then moved to Arizona with my family. We reside in Oro Valley. We've been here for about 14 years. Started off as the chief marketing officer of Beach Fleischman, and then in 2022 got elected CEO. So I'm in my 5th year now of running one of the nation's largest public accounting firms. I think there's 44,000 CPA firms in the country, and we're just outside of the top 100 in terms of our size. So I didn't have all the answers, I didn't have a clear path, but here we are.
Thank you. Sometimes you don't need all the answers when you're starting, so you just have to be curious and then you get yourself somewhere. So we're gonna start, but each of our guest speakers will have 5 minutes for a question. So they have 15 minutes, that's 35 minutes. And then after that, you guys are welcome to also ask a few questions. So I'll ask that you should be keen and attentive as they share some of these great stories, lessons, setbacks, but that will inspire you to also do something impactful in your community. So we're going to start with Mr. Majchrzak. Our first question is, when you started your first venture, how did you evaluate whether an idea has real potential versus just excitement behind it? Because sometimes, like when we are starting something, we're just excited and we look at this problem like, I'm just going to start right now. So like, how did you realize that this is something that I should work on?
I've actually made that mistake of just being excited about a venture, and it failed. So my first one did fail because I didn't do enough homework. It looked great on paper. I was passionate about it, and it was not too long ago. But I wanted to start an outsourced accounting and bookkeeping company that was virtual. In other words, we didn't visit businesses, offices. It was all going to be done via cloud technology. And I thought, because I had been reading all the hype about cloud technology, and I thought, business owners would love that, right? Cloud technology, virtual, remote working, helping them, being their advisor. And the truth was that accounting and my line of business is still at its core a people business. And people did want that close personal interaction. And it's not to say that you can't get that through a virtual program or a virtual business model. But I didn't do enough, due diligence on how would that translate in the virtual space. I know what it looks like in the physical space, like we're in this room together, but I didn't do enough homework on that. So this particular business I launched with my partners at Beach Fleischman was highly automated. There was a lot of, non-touch type services. It was all, you would log into the portal, you get all your reports and everything. But it was too automated. People really did want that personal touch. So I guess my first big lesson was I launched this with my partners without really doing enough, let's say, conversations with our firm's existing clients. I didn't do enough of that market research to figure out if they really would like that kind of business model, as opposed to maybe somebody coming out to your business and doing your accounting and your bookkeeping for you. It's a big difference. I also like the fact that, at least on paper, this was a very progressive company. It was continually innovating and trying and testing new things. But on the employee side, the change was coming too fast, and we were rolling out too many changes, testing too many new platforms, and so we had a high turnover of employees. And I was like, wow, and I just have to say this, that business plan on paper looks so great. Okay, it doesn't matter a hill of beans if you don't have the proper execution. So I had some flawed assumptions baked into the plan, but boy, was it a well-rounded business plan. It looked good. I wrote it over the course of 6 months. It had the financial forecast, it had the marketing plan, it had all sorts of things in there: product, price, place, promotion, like the four P's of the marketing mix. So I guess that's what it comes down to, is really figuring out what problem that your venture or business is going to solve, who else is in that space, maybe doing it already or not, what makes them successful, because you don't want to necessarily roll out a business that is just a carbon copy of another idea that somebody else is doing better than you. So you have to figure out what your unique selling proposition is, or what differentiates you. So funny thing, failure is necessary when you're growing and you're advancing your career. So that is something that I learned early on. I developed kind of this fear of failure early on, and then realized, boy, it's essential to growing and to figuring out how a business needs to evolve. You have to test things, you might fail, and then you try it again and you make some adjustments and some improvements. So that's what we did with this particular business. We disbanded that company, and we relaunched it like a year later under a different name with a slightly different model that had more personal touch to it, more stability. We had actually talked to clients in advance, more so than we did the first time around. And today that business, in less time, is more than double the size of that initial initiative company that we did. Stronger client retention, excellent employee retention, and I feel like that's the way it should be. It's like we failed, we figure out what we did wrong, we relaunched it, we learned our lessons, and I just, I want to just communicate that to you. It is okay to fail. It's a necessary part of growing in your career, and especially in business. It's critical.
Thank you so much, Eric. I think you make great points with talking about failing and having to go through that in order to grow and become a better leader and a better employer or employee to anyone that you're working for or anything that you're working towards. So for Scott, my question to you is, you work a lot with students. So what's one uncommon way a student can stand out to you?
How can a student stand out to me? I wasn't ready for this question. As I mentioned kind of when I introduced myself, I've taught for 2 decades, maybe more, probably a little bit more, 22 years, 23 years, a long time. And met with a lot of different students. Honor students have a particular kind of perspective, and it really goes back to your comment about failure, about you got to be willing to accept it. And I've met so many different students that some of them are very worried about failing. Others seem to be very good at it. But in terms of just kind of how would a student stand out is to just never give up, to be constantly willing to keep learning, keep exploring, keep experimenting. I think this is particularly now, this is the age for you to make small bets, big bets, and it's easy to do it now. I mean, you have I won't say you have but you have relatively little to lose in terms of your decision making now. I mean, one of my companies I started when I was in my mid-40s, and I had a child who I needed to buy food for and pay insurance for. I had a mortgage that I had to take care of. I had student loans that I had to pay for. If I had messed up along that route, it would have been traumatic for me, for our family. And it almost was a few times. But you don't have that. You have the chance to just experiment, do so many different things. And that's just something that I would urge any student to just drive and try to find new opportunities, learn new things, because the downside for you is what? I mean, what is the downside if you fail at something? It honestly there isn't any. So, fail with wild abandon.
Thank you so much for sharing with us how students can be exceptional and how they can be outstanding regardless of their failure. So this next question is going to be to Yvonne. So what's one action that you can advise students to take, right from when they leave this room, to start making influence in their society?
One action that I think you can take from when you leave this room, right? All right, so one action I think you can take definitely would be, and you can take it now, you don't have to wait till you leave the room, would definitely be networking, right? Networking and collaborating with people on different values. Like each one of you have a value, right? Each one of you stand for something. You know what your beliefs are, you know what you believe in. So I highly encourage you to get involved in campus programs, get involved in your community for advocacy. Find something that you truly believe in and start working with people with those missions, values, so that you can start collaborating with them and build your network. I think it's important that when you leave here, you're going to start going to job fairs, going to interviews. You're going to be getting that starting position in that one business that may not be your ultimate career, but you're going to say, hey, I want to promote here, or I want to earn more money. If that's what you're going to do, you're going to need the skill of networking. You're going to have to be able to speak up and speak out, communicate what your goals are, to people you are in the same room with, so that they know what your pure intentions are. You're probably thinking, what does that look like, right? I can give you a story of when I started with the Sheriff's Department back in 2004. I went to go be an officer with the Sheriff's Department, and I was in the academy, and I'm going to be honest with you, as a black female who's half Native American, part of the Tohono of the nation, going into a law enforcement field, it is a predominantly male and predominantly white field. So going into that field, there was no one in that room that looked like me. So in a 3-month academy, physical, mental, you're learning laws, you're learning policies. It's almost like, do I belong here? Am I supposed to be here? I felt like I was failing, right? But you can't be scared of failing. You have to go ahead and succeed. So graduated from the academy, became an officer. But the second I walked out of that academy, I went to my instructors, class officers, sergeants, lieutenants, and I said, hey, I went through your academy. They said, well, we want to know, how was it? I said, well, I'm going to be honest. There's nobody here that looked like me. So at times I thought I wasn't going to be able to do it. I wasn't going to be able to succeed. And I said, we need more diversity. We need people who look like everyone. We need to diversify. And at that time they took me up on an offer, and they said, look, we want you to come back in 1 year. We have probation for 1 year. Be on the right path for 1 year, come back to this training center, and we're going to make you a trainer. So that way we're showing that we're diversifying. And pretty soon the academy went and diversified, and now people can come and see people like themselves. I worked for Citibank for over 12 years. I went there, and there was nobody that looked like me in corporate America. You're talking about a global bank. Now, you go to other countries, yeah, there's people that look like me. But here in Tucson, our site here in Tucson, at the U of A Tech Park, over there off of Rita Road, there's no one that looks like me that is a vice president, director, senior vice president. So if I have the aspiration to go, the first thing I did when I walked in that door was I started networking. It's important to get people to mentor you, to teach you the way, to show you like, hey, this is what this position has to offer. You want to build into a career, this is what you can do. So they'll help guide you. If you build your network, build a village around yourself, and you can get your name out there and use visibility. So the biggest thing is communicate, let people know what your intentions are. The second would be to make yourself visible, get a mentor, get somebody who can help you. And then I think the last one will be, don't be scared to fail and take initiative, right? No one should have to go to you and tell you what to do, right? Take initiative, say, I want to be part of this program. I want to promote to be a corporate trainer, which is what I did after my entry level at Citi. Then I went on to be a vice president in risk and compliance. So as you heard from Eric, starting with his career, he didn't start out, going into accounting. He even told you he failed accounting, but he has a strong village, and I'm sure he has a strong network that helped him get there. And you're gonna make mistakes, you're gonna fail, but the important thing is to learn from those mistakes, take that feedback, no matter how hard it hurts or what it may do, and then go ahead and succeed from it. Get over it, succeed, and try again.
Yeah, that's true. I'll just give you an example. We were able to organize this panel in your class because we went and spoke to your professor. We networked, and then we were able to organize something like this. This is just kind of like a recent example. So it's very important for you to communicate and also network with other people around you. For Mr. Scott, I know you've been in this field for so many years. You've mentored so many students, and you're also mentoring us in the business venture. So what's the biggest misconception students have about starting a business or initiative?
Well, I have taught entrepreneurship at different places, different universities, as well as working with a lot of students and prospective founders as well about their ideas. And one thing when I'm ever presenting, like, you need to get involved in the venture studio. You need to think about these kind of, or wherever it might be on campus, wherever you are. The first thing students will say is, well, I don't have an idea, so how do I don't have a good idea. And it's like, that's not where you start entrepreneurship, with ideas. You think, well, don't I need to have a good idea? And what I always say is what you need first is you need to have a skill in problem finding, not problem solving. Solving problems is easy. The challenge is finding problems. So you need to be great problem finders. And Eric was alluding to this a little bit as well in his comments, is that if I challenge, and I've challenged Rebecca and others that have been involved in this, if you just sit down with a journal or your phone or whatever, and just, as something annoys you during the day, write that down. Like, why did I have to wait in line at this place for 5 minutes? Why did it take this long to do this? Why did I have to do 2 steps to get this thing done? All of those little annoyances that we all have, and we all have them. And then look at your parents or friends or just the community and see what problems or things that are happening in your community that annoy you, or not necessarily even annoy you, but annoy other people, and write those down. If you have those lists, those are what in the entrepreneurship world we would refer to as pain points, where there's pains in our lives or in other people's lives that just get under people's nerves. Then you start thinking, okay, another list, the other side of that list is the things I just really wish existed. That they don't exist is okay. It's not a horrible thing. I'm fine. But wouldn't it be cool if this existed? And we all have those too. And if you start writing down that list, every time you think, God, really, this would be so cool if I could do this, write that down. And if you spent 3 months just writing those lists down, that's problem finding. And every one of those are opportunities to discover that maybe this is a startup company. I mean, I shared that I started up 3 companies. And when I say I started up 3 companies, that's because I went down to a point where I had a product to launch and I started making some money. 2 of those 3 failed. The third one succeeded and I sold it. But before those 3 were probably at least another 40 or 50 problems that I saw that, like, maybe I should work on this. And some of them I went down for a week or 2, some of them I went down for 6 months or a year, and then eventually said, this problem isn't big enough, or this problem isn't a pain in the neck enough. And so the misconception is that you need to come with an idea. You absolutely do not need to come with an idea. You need to come with a desire to find problems. And there are plenty of problems in your own life, in your friend's life, your parents' life, the community, in the world. There's plenty of problems. And so that's the biggest misconception, is to think that you need to have an idea. You need to have a thirst for finding problems. The solution problem, everybody's always saying, well, how good are you a problem solver? I could care less if you're a good problem solver. I want to know, are you a great problem finder? And if you're good at that, finding solutions is easy. Building solutions is easy. Finding problems is the hard part. So that's the misconception, is put aside that, like, I don't have a great idea. Like, I never had a great idea, but I knew how to find problems. I'm really great at finding problems. I'm sometimes great at making problems too, but I am great. Rebecca laughs because she knows it's true. But that's the biggest misconception. Just focus on finding problems, and the rest will come.
I think you made a great point with not having an idea, but also having the ambition and finding problems in the community as well as on campus. Like, for example, I know some people love to take naps on the grass, but I feel like it would be amazing to have like a space where students can have naps, students who commute here. So you make great points, and I think this really ties to Eric's question I have for him. When you're hiring, what matters more, experience, mindset, or something else, and why? Because I know students are very ambitious here. They are eager to learn. So what kind of matters when you're looking for future employers?
Great question. In some way, the things you mentioned all matter. And I feel like experience, however your resume is put together, that might get you the interview or get you funneled through that first level of eyeballs on your resume. This person experience aligns with what we're looking for. But keep in mind, I mean, especially today, you could be applying for a position and there are hundreds of people who might fit that same framework that you have. They have the requisite experience, they went to the right university, right? Maybe they volunteered. But I feel like mindset is what actually gets you the job. Experience might get you in the door, right? Because somebody is just looking at a resume. But the mindset is so important. And one of the things that I've imparted with students or people maybe who recently graduated and are looking to get that first job is when you go to that first interview, pretend like you're actually not interviewing, but that you actually have the job. And you're in there. That mindset makes you curious, and pretend you're going in there to figure out, how do I wrap my head around this position? So start asking the questions you would ask as if that was your day one. Who do you report to? You know, who are the customers for this business? Because that curiosity is something that really an interviewer wants to see. They want to see how your mind works. They want to see how you organize your thoughts. So yes, spend time on the resume to get you in the door, but then start thinking about mindset. I saw an interview with an actor, Bryan Cranston. He was in what's the name of that series? Breaking Bad, yeah. And so he always gets asked by young actors, you know, what kind of advice could you give me? And this is kind of where I got it from, actually. He said, you're not going in to audition for a part, you're going in there to act. So he gives that advice to people, and they go in there as if they've got nothing to lose, and they just act the part. They're just in that moment, and they do that. And I would say, you know, for you guys to consider doing the same thing. Pretend like that first job interview is your first day. Your mindset changes when you do that. You start, you know, asking smart questions. They do want to see that curiosity. And I want to say this too, it is actually okay for you to ask questions. People want to see what kind of questions you ask. Now, I've been through so many interviews, first interviews, second interviews, and even third interviews, depending on the position. And I can tell you that each subsequent interview, we want to see depth in that person, how they solve problems, how they approach a scenario. So start thinking about that kind of thing. And so it is, okay, mindset is important, experience is important, but I think depending on the situation, again, the mindset can be something that employers are really looking for. And that's what's going to differentiate you.
Thank you so much for sharing that, because I've had so many people tell me their stories. So students who graduate fresh out of college, they are in the labor market to compete with people that have more experiences than them, that have more education levels than them, and they don't know how to stand out. But from your explanation, your mindset really sets you apart from the rest of the candidates. So our next question is going to be for Scott. So what was that thing that you did early on in your career that changed everything for you? Because sometimes it's just that one thing you think about that just changes the whole scope for you and it makes you a better person. So what was that thing for you, and how can students learn from that?
I would love to answer that question after I add the end of his answer. I'm going rogue here a little bit. And that just simply, I completely agree with everything you just said. I always thought of that I hired a lot of people because I ran a big medical device company for a while, because I always hired for attitude and trained for aptitude. I wanted a good attitude. If I needed you to have skills, I could train those, but it's hard to train attitude. So bring a great attitude, let the aptitudes come as you go. But back to your original question. Well, I'm going to go rogue on this one too, a little bit. But I'll get back to your question. The heart of your question is that I think a lot of people think about the big decision, and I really kind of look at it there's a typology of decisions. One is the big decision. Probably many of you, one of your biggest decisions, and you're all young, so you've had, relatively speaking, to where I'm looking back at there's far fewer decisions, but you've had some big ones. What school you're going to go to is probably one of the biggest ones, and maybe a lot of you are graduating, and maybe the next one is what's the next school you're going to go to, or what college or what job you're going to start. So we have these big decisions, and so inherent in the question is that there is these big decisions that we make, and which big decision really impacted me. But that's just one level. There's another level which is really a sequence of decisions. Because even the decision that you made to come to the U of A started with, what 20 colleges do you even want to look at? And then what 10 colleges do you want to go visit? And then which 5 colleges do you want to apply to? And which of the 3 colleges that accepted you did you want to actually accept and enroll in? So the decision of that big decision, what school I'm going to, really is a sequence of multiple decisions before that. And so that's another level. But where I really look at it is that everybody needs to be in the business of a chaotic accumulation of decisions. And that is that even before that decision, those decisions, that these are the 20 schools I'm going to apply to, 20 universities I'm going to apply to. There are so many other, I joined this club, I took this class, I did this camp after my freshman year of high school. I connected with this particular teacher that really inspired me. I had a conversation after some speaker came to my class, and that person put me in another route. All those little tiny decisions to go up to talk to the person, to join that club, those are all small decisions. They're all just feeling a little bit chaotic, that all built to the big decision. And so for me, to somewhat answer your question a bit, but changing the question a little bit, is that the biggest risk in your life is not that a big decision fails, but that you don't make enough small decisions. You need to just make a lot of small decisions in your life. Just keep making decisions. Because, and when it comes to the venture studio and and other things I've done in before, it's like, well, I don't know if I want to come to that club meeting. I don't know if I want to take that class. I don't know if after this breaks up, the 3 of us are wandering around. I don't know if I'm going to actually go up to any of them and shake their hand and introduce myself. I don't know if I'm going to do those things. And then you decide, your decision is, I'm not going to do any of those things. And what you need to do is you need to collect as many decisions. It's more focused about making just a god-awful number of small decisions to put things in front of you. Because, we shared, and maybe all 3 of us shared, a path like this through our career. And there's no way at 22 that I could go back and look at my career and say, and chart that path. No way I would draw. I could write 1,000, this is my career path. Not one of them would look like it is. Not a single one of them. But when I look back on my 40 years, how I got from 22, where you are now, to today, makes as clear as day how I got here. It's just completely obvious how I got here. But at 22, if I did that, it would be, you're insane if you think your career is going to advance like that. But I just kept making small decisions constantly. I'm going to go visit this person. I'm going to go to that conference. I'm going to introduce myself as, I'm going to take a phone call from a respiratory doctor in New York City that just came into my office once, like, yeah, I'll take it. I picked up a call. 10 years later, I started business with that guy. If I had just said, I don't want to take that call, hang up on it or not accept it, I want to start a business. He's been nearly a lifelong friend because I picked up a random phone call. I didn't say, I picked it up. And you need to do that. You need to make as many decisions as you can. Keep saying yes as much as you can. And that's more important than, is there some decision that I can look back and say that was pivotal? There isn't a single one that I could actually point to. The thing I can point to is I made a lot of decisions, and that's what I would urge you to do, is just make time, go to everything. Say yes to as many things as you can. That's far more valuable to your life than some random story.
Just to piggyback off of that real quick.
Now you're stealing from me.
I love what he just said about that, right? And he's telling you to say yes because those yeses are going to open up opportunity, which is what he had, is plenty of opportunity and directions to go. So definitely.
Yeah. Saying yes is important, but learn to manage your time well, because sometimes I do say yes and my calendar is really filled out and I'm like, where should I go, you know? So our next question is for Yvonne. How did you personally build influence before you had a title or a platform? Because you've come from numerous of background, experience, challenges, studied here at the UAZ, then you came back. So you've navigated so many things. So how did you build a title before having a platform?
I would say definitely before I had a title and platform, my goal was exactly that, was to stand out. Stand out amongst everyone, right? So this looks like a training class, right? Whether it's for the sheriff department or whether it's for Citibank, a global bank, or whether it's for another employer. If you're sitting in this training class, and like Scott said and Eric said, it's the end of the training class, and some management comes in, introduces themselves like we did as panelists, and you wanted to stand out right now. How would you stand out? Does anybody know how you could stand out right now? Because all three of us, I don't think I know anybody's name here. I don't think Scott knows anybody's name. Eric doesn't know anybody's name. So how are you right now going to stand out amongst the 20 people that are here in this room when you're just simply asking a follow-up question? And I think what I used to do in my training classes, or when I was in an event for Citibank or at a corporate event, what I would do is when I would ask a question to the people who was presenting to us, I would definitely stand up. I would get up out of my seat, stand up, because everybody else is just sitting down. And everybody else was like, I would like to know, very soft-spoken, you know, how did you get here? How'd you get there? Not me. I'm standing up out of my chair, because what does it do? It stands me out. Everybody's down. I state my name, my full name, not just my first name, my last name. And then I would ask my question. And they would answer, and they're thinking, man, why'd this person stand up? All it did was set me apart from everyone else. At the end of their presentation, or at the end of the event, like he said, I would go up to the panelists. You had a decision to make. You can walk out the door. You can say, I'm not going to go up and talk to them. And you can just walk out the door, or you can stand up, walk to the front while everybody's going to the back and say, hey, again, my name's Yvonne Davis. Pleasure to meet you. I really appreciate the information you provided today. And then it's going to start a conversation, right? It's going to get you to build your network. It's going to get you to start talking. So I think, how do you build, before I had a title or a platform, definitely standing out. Standing out, you can stand out by speaking up. You're going to find yourselves in boardrooms. You're going to find yourself in conference rooms. You find yourself right now in classrooms where you may not feel comfortable speaking up, but it's important that you let your voice be heard. It's important that you have a view and opinion, and you come to the table and you let people know what you're working with, what you want to do, what your intentions are, right? So I think communication, speaking up, standing out also plays to visibility, right? They were talking about come to the interview, as if you already have the job, or as if you're already that actor, that position, that role. That's very important. Same thing goes for when you're walking every day into your business or into your job, is to dress the part, stand out, be visible, act. If I want to be CEO, I may just be an entry-level salesperson, but I'm dressing like the CEO. Everybody else is there in jeans and a t-shirt, but I'm there looking like the CEO. I was at Citibank one time just as a base level sales rep, and I had a vice president come up to me and start talking to me just simply on my dress and the way I carried myself with confidence and stood out in different events. They thought I was a vice president. They thought I was their peer. And I had to say, I apologize, I have to go back to my job and start selling again. I'm a rep here. And they shocked, couldn't believe it. So definitely play the part or the role you want to be in, right? When you're talking to people, before you get your title, but when you're on that platform or when you're at that job, that entry-level job, when you're talking to people, let them know this isn't just a job for me, it's my career. What's the difference between a job and a career? A job is something you're only there temporary. A career, you may be there for a lifetime, right? So again, letting people know those intentions. Taking initiative could be something as simple as when I went to Citibank and I was just a sales rep. I went in there, I think I was there learning my job, making myself an asset. I need to make myself an asset. This is a global bank. This is a global company. I need to make myself an asset, right? So I knew, learn my job, learn the policies and procedures, know what I can do good and make myself an asset, make people come to me. I had bosses coming to me saying, hey, I know you know this, how would you do this? How would you do that? And I was giving them the answer, making myself that subject matter expert, right? So make yourself an asset in the place you are. Take initiative. Next thing I did, within 3 months of walking in from my new hire training class, within 3 months, I wrote an email. I had trained previously at the Pima County Sheriff Department. I was now at Citibank here in Tucson, over there at the U of A Tech Park. And I said, you know what? I knew the name of the corporate trainer, like the director of training. And I said, Max. I was like, my name's Yvonne Davis, just started 3 months ago. I have experience in training. I would love to, have a meeting with you or set up a meeting with you just to ask you some questions. These are the questions I'm looking to get answers to. I'm interested into becoming a corporate trainer here at Citibank. I'm interested in what is the pay range, because I'm all about pay. But what is the pay range? Because if the pay range ain't right, I ain't going. So what is the pay range? What can I be doing now that's going to help me get the position I want? And sure enough, he said, absolutely, schedule a meeting. Look at my calendar. I scheduled a meeting. I met with him. And I want to say that was in 2014. And 2 years later, 2016, when I went for the interview, he already knew my name. Again, I set up something 2 years prior so that I could stand out for the position I wanted when I went. So when everybody else is coming, I want to be corporate trainer. They don't know who they are, but he knew me. And that's how you build yourself and get a name for yourself. You network, you communicate, you get visible, you stand out, and you take initiative.
My next question is to Yvonne, and I think you already answered this question in so many ways. So how can students turn their personal values into something meaningful impact in their community?
Absolutely. I kind of did touch on this, and I do believe find a belief, a goal, some values you have, and get involved in campus programs, get involved in the community. Right now, I'm no longer working with City. I chose to resign because I won all this money at the Regents Cup. I had some money saved over from investments. And I said, you know what? I don't have to work for a couple of years. I want to change my path. And my goal now is to be of service to my community, right? So through Citibank, I ended up meeting up with Big Brothers Big Sisters of Tucson, Arizona. So right now I'm on the advocacy board of Big Brothers Big Sisters because I like the values that Big Brother Big Sisters hold. So with that being said, one of the things would be that I saw that Big Brothers Big Sisters, they do mentorship. Not everybody has a mom and dad. Not everybody has a mom and dad who are always there to spend time with them, to do things with them. So they're real big on mentorship. Right now, you're sitting in these chairs, and you can go to the center over there on Alvernon and Grant, and you can become a younger kid's big brother or big sister. Help them, guide them the right way to make sure they're staying in school. Make sure they're going to college. Make sure they look at aspirations on how to get a job. Share your personal experience on how you did it. So it's something I believe truly in. I'm an advocacy board member there, and so that's one thing I'm doing right is service. Coming here to the school and, coming back in 2023. I originally came to the U of A back in 2000, but I came back in 2023, and coming back into 2023, I came on the Native American Scholars Grant. They didn't have that back in 2000. So in 2023, I said, okay, I'm coming on the Native American Scholars Grant. I took a couple of Native American classes. I started to see this community that I never saw in 2000. I don't think I even saw any other Native Americans here on campus, or I didn't know where to find them, right? And so now, because a lot of us were on the grant and we're going to classes, learning different languages, learning things about Native American, my goal is to now give back to the community, my Native American community on the Tohono O'odham Nation. So now I'm in the acts of service. It's not so much money now because I don't need that right now, but it's acts of service and getting back involved in the community. So I think it's important that you're involved in your community, even as, you become CEO, as you go to, work for whoever as an entry-level employee. Always get involved in the community and try to give back.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Yvonne, and thank you for sharing your personal experiences, especially the fact that you said we should dress the part, and then that way you get more people, you get attracted to people, and then they can put you in good positions in your life. So our next question is going to be for Eric. So how do students effectively communicate what they stand for or their values, even when they don't have so much experience? Because some students really want to set themselves or put themselves in a position for leadership, but they fear that they will be judged for not having so much experience, and with that, they will not be able to get adequate support. So how can you advise students to take those positions regardless?
So you actually are building value in yourself and providing value right now, although you may not realize it. So you can actually translate the things you're doing at university, at a part-time job, and translate it into kind of like business language. So for example, even a group project that requires accountability to each other, it requires collaboration skills. You have to follow a process from start to finish. That is kind of business translation. When you're talking to, let's say, a hiring manager, you can take something like a school project and speak the language of business by saying, well, we had a problem we had to solve. We had to show up every week at the same time. We had to work through these problems. We had to collaborate. We had to offer our unique skill set to help the team solve the problem. So you can do that with your part-time job. You can do that you can even say something like, here's how I'm going to show up every day at this position, at this job. I'm eager to learn. I'm going to show up on time. I'm going to, usually when I finish an assignment or a task, I like to ask, what else can I do to help? That's how you communicate your value. You don't have to have years of working experience to do that. You can simply take the stuff you're doing now, which is all relevant. I mean, they say this about colleges and universities. The fact that you can wake up every day, that you can read a syllabus, that you can, do these homework assignments, that you can do the projects, you can do all that stuff, day in and day out, year after year after year. That's really what employers want to see, is that your stick-to-itiveness, that you have that ability to persevere and to get through something like that. All super important. So whatever you're doing, however small you think it is, it's actually not that small in the grand scheme of things. It's like building blocks. You're building a solid foundation of value that you may not realize you are, but you actually are if you look at it that way. So, I know my daughter and my son, right now, my daughter's a recent graduate. My son still has another year to go. But she did that with her volunteerism. She did it with, her part-time job on campus here at the U of A. And the way she constructed her resume was essentially talking about the value she brought to that job, the accountability she had for a team, the care she had to take care of customers or whatever. So that's how you do it. It's simply taking what you're doing now and communicating value and translating it into business language.
Thank you.
Yep.
So I'm gonna give to you guys to ask a few questions, and we'll only take 3 questions. And if you guys have more pressing questions, you'll have a chance to speak to your guest after the panel. So we're gonna take 3 questions. Who wants to go first? It could be something about the topic, something outside this. Yes.
I feel like I should sit up.
We can see you.
Okay. Hi, my name is Vivian Peck. I'm a sophomore here at the University of Arizona studying accounting. I know that this was touched on in a lot of kind of like the different topics that we talked about, but what would you guys say is the best way to deal with burnout or feeling kind of overwhelmed in a lot of different situations regarding like academics or as well as like personal life?
Well, I'll throw in mine. It's something that I've learned over time, and I fail at it probably more often than not, and that is learning how to say no. That's a hard thing for somebody who's, like, particularly I think probably honor students, and I know Rebecca falls into this category of all the many conversations we've had, of just being able to say, I'm not available, I can't do that, that's not something that I can do right now. Because I've seen honor students just like consume, do more and more and more. And I've done that myself in my career, like just like take on the new things. So I think being able to just understand who you are and being comfortable saying no. I mean, I see so many students who are just like really fearful of saying no. And I'll look at them and like, I know you want to say no. Just say no. Like, I can't do that right now. And so I think people get burned out because they keep saying yes. And you need to be just comfortable saying, my fire hose is only so big. And I can't pump more water through that hose. At some point, just like, this is the capacity, I'm not doing anymore. So just be comfortable saying no. And honestly, when I work with people and if they say no to me, I'm like, thank you for saying no, because I know you appreciate your capacity, and I'll go to somebody else who has capacity, who can do the job well. If you just keep saying yes, 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 I know someone like you're going to burn out. So it's of no value at that point.
Let's take another question. Yes.
Hi, my name is Sylvia Peck. I'm a junior and I want to go to law school. My question is for Scott, and you were talking about kind of saying yes to things and just making those decisions along the way. And I just wanted to know if you had any advice about how to better position yourself in order to get the offer to make that decision, I guess. Like, does that make sense? Like,
Try it again.
Like, how do you get yourself in a situation where, or better put yourself in a situation where you're getting these offers and to say yes? Like, is there any way, like, yes, it comes about sometimes randomly, but is there any way to make it happen more often for your...
To have opportunities presented to you more often?
Yeah. And anyone...
Well, I just told her to say no. I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth here. Now I'm going to tell you to say yes. I mean, it does go back to what I kind of said earlier about just these, you could say this, I use the phrase as chaotic accumulation of decisions, but just these micro decisions. And it's just, for me, it's just the person who is saying, I am talking two sides of my mouth, saying yes to opportunities to be able to learn. It ultimately can be like, no, I'm not going to do it. But to just keep yourself open to those opportunities and pick up the phone call. I mean, that literally is something that I did. I could have just said, no, I'm not going to take it. Could you take it? Could you pick this up? I don't have time for this. But I just picked up the phone and started talking to Sunil Duper, a pulmonologist in Long Island, that turned into a great relationship and a business partner, as I said. So I think it's just reinforcing what I said before. It's just keep saying yes to those opportunities to learn something, to go in, to make the micro decisions. Whether or not you go to a club, whether or not any of you come up and say, introduce yourself, doesn't mean that we're all going to be best friends forever. But you've made the opportunity, you said yes to the opportunity to meet these two fine people, and maybe one of them is going to be your future hiring manager. Maybe one of them is going to be your future person who introduces you to the next person. You have no idea until you find out. So just say yes. It's not a lifetime. You're not getting married to the decision, but you are creating those opportunities to just keep saying yes, yes, yes. It might be right after that that you say no.
One more last question. Yes.
Hi, I'm Raquel Lilly. I'm a sophomore pre-med student here at the U of A, and my question's for Yvonne. I found it very interesting that you went through so many life experiences and then you decided to go back to school. I was wondering what
you got from like school that you couldn't or didn't get from your other activities and experiences?
Well, I can assure you that going to school in 2000 here at the U of A and then going to school again in 2023 is a whole new world. I mean, cell phones were on a different level. We barely had flip phones back in that day. You guys have D2L where you have a lot of access to your classes, to your syllabus. We didn't have any of that. We're still carrying books around here. So it's definitely a technology, I would say, is definitely very impactful coming back to the university and just being able to, the corporation of AI, the corporation of all this equipment just within this room, we just didn't have that stuff back in 2000. So coming back, I would have to say the one thing I learned was more technology and how to use it for my advantage. That was definitely one thing. I would have to say that going to school in 2000, I'm not going to lie, I'm going to be straight up here and say I did drop out, and I want to say 2021, maybe 2020, or sorry, 2002, 2001. And we were the #1 party school in 2000, Maxim magazine, but I was probably part of that. I partied a lot and I didn't take it seriously. I was like, I'm just gonna do me. And it was like being away from home, I was gonna have fun. I was gonna have the real college experience. And I did. And then there came a time where I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go into the workforce and start working. I would have to say, had I taken it seriously in 2000, really accepted what my professors were trying to say, having, people come and talk to our classes and actually listen, take their tips, write it down, and actually apply it when I went into the workforce, I probably would have been projected or higher up than where I was. So I have to say, definitely take people's feedback and apply it. But technology would be the one thing that I learned going back to school from 2000 to 2023.
Okay, thank you. So we have a few more minutes. I'm going to give it to our panelists. We have one of our last questions that you all are going to share and answer it, and we ask that you only take a minute answering this. But it's almost time. So if you could give your younger self one piece of advice about becoming a leader, what would it be? Just one piece of advice.
We could start from Eric.
Okay.
I didn't want to say anything. I fought the urge.
This is a good question. It's not like there's a switch that flips where somebody anoints you a leader. You're accumulating these traits of a leader right now, and you may not even know it until somebody will come to you someday and say, these people, your peers really look up to you. Oh, they do? Like, I was told that earlier in my career that my opinion mattered because of this person really admired something I had done. I'm like, I had no idea. And so you're actually building the traits as a leader now, and I wish I had known that, because I think I would have approached things a little bit differently. I wouldn't have been so fearful of a leadership role if somebody had told me earlier in my career, like, you're already doing the things that a leader does. It wouldn't have been so scary, the thought of that. So that would be my advice is you're already building it. Don't be so afraid of it.
Mine would easily be what they said earlier is don't be afraid to fail. Nobody's perfect. Not one person is perfect on this earth. You're gonna make mistakes. The important thing is to learn from the mistakes you made and grow from them. Be better. And then not only that, but share that knowledge and mentor other people that look like you or don't look like you, but give that knowledge back in mentorship so that people don't make the same mistakes that you did, and you're going to help prosper more leaders.
I'd answer that with just two little elements. One, building off a little bit what Eric said, is being a leader is not an end state. It's not a destination, it's a process. I'm older than everybody in here by far, and I'm still learning how to be a leader. I'm still evolving. So it's not something you take a class, do a certificate, now you're a leader. You're going to be changing that for years and years to come. And then the other one is don't wait until you're ready. I think a lot of people are like, I need to take this class, I need to learn this thing before I do anything. You can lead, as Eric was saying, his daughter, like you can lead right now. And these three are doing that right now. So just start leading. Don't be waiting until it's perfect. Just do it. So those are the two things I would say about how to be a leader.
Thank you. So before we end, I would like to give my co-host a few words and then we'll close.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you everyone for listening and asking questions. I feel as if I am sitting here and listening, I get scared to raise my hand, so it's very cool that you guys are reaching and joining into the conversation, and I also want to thank the panelists for coming on and inspiring everyone in this room.
Thank you so much, our panelists, and thank you all for being here and then listening. And right now, I feel better equipped to actually position myself for leadership. And I just wanted to tell you all that if you're interested in joining our podcast, if you want to come as a guest, or you even want to join us as a host, you can easily just scan any of the schools hired here and then join us. Thank you so much.
Or you can talk to us. We usually interview guests every week, and as I told you, we have a lot of CEOs from different businesses and student leaders whom we interview and learn a lot from them. So I know a lot of you are sophomores, juniors, so you still have a year here on campus. This could be a great opportunity for you to come and network. It's just an hour on Tuesday, Thursdays, and Fridays, and we can work with your schedule as well. I want us to give a round of applause to our finalists. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing your insights, your experiences, your life skills with us. This has been so valuable, and I'm sure I've also learned a lot from hearing from you, and I know I'm going to carry that to my leadership activities and roles here on campus. And let's also give a round of applause to our professors as well. Thank you, Professor Nadia, for allowing us to bring this to your class. This is really great, and we appreciate you giving us the opportunity to learn and also bringing this to the students as well, because I believe by doing this, they get to learn and also get to network. This is also one way of networking with other people from the community as well. So we really appreciate you.
Thank you so much. One of the things that I always love to do as an educator, leading educational spaces, is to center student focus. It's something that I think we need to be with a more open and with a meaningful purpose. So I really appreciate all of you, and of course Rebecca again, and you reach out to me and bring this idea, and of course Eric, Yvonne, and Scott for their time. I'm a thought leader researcher, very passionate about storytelling, and one of the things that we've been exploring through this class is also how we can elevate our stories. So I explained to the students also why I'm keeping my two last names. That is very common in my country, because if I shortcut it, I become another person, not only legal, but also in terms of my story. So I really appreciate that you create this space, not only in terms of bringing your expertise, but also willing to share your story. So thank you so much.